Realty Dominica, where exquisite living is defined by nature.
Caribbean Life Radio. Caribbean Life Radio.
Lawrence Prescott Photography. I'm smiling, I'm laughing because God, I know what I'm talking about. Lawrence Prescott Photography. That's the only person you need to call when you're ready to take your pictures. You want those pictures to come out right. You want those pictures to last forever. You want your best picture taken? Lawrence Prescott Photography. He does private events, in studio also, and outdoor photography if you need. Photography is what Lawrence Prescott does, and he's really good at it. Trust me. And also, when you want to get that video done, any type of videography production, he got you. He does short films, movies, any type of videos as well. Lawrence Prescott got you at anything that you really need. So make sure you give him a call. His phone number, and I'm going to say it slow for you, it's 404-218-1234. Did you get that? 404-218-1234. Lawrence Prescott Photography. Yo, my brethren, big up.
That's just how we roll.
Let me tell you who I'm rolling with. I am rolling with the Dot Experiment. I don't know if you ever heard of them before, but the Dot Experiment is here to help you with all your cell phone and computer needs. The Dot Experiment is here for all your tech, all your software problems, whether it's the storage full, your laptop won't boot, or you're just tired of your current setup, or you're just looking for tech support. The Dot Experiment is the only way to go. Call them today, 404-259-1343, or you can email them at support@thedotexperiment.com for a free consultation. Don't waste your money buying tech stuff and tech software that you don't understand and don't know how to use. Contact the Dot Experiment, the professionals in fixing all your stuff, man. So before you buy that cell phone, before you get that computer, contact the Dot Experiment. It's the only way to go. I'm telling you, that's how we roll it over here. Lawrence Prescott Photography. I'm smiling, I'm laughing because, God, I know what I'm talking about. Lawrence Prescott Photography. That's the only person you need to call when you're ready to take your
the rose quartz, that fluorite crystal vision into.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Just a Thought. This is your host, Just a Thought, Jeff, and today we are talking about and celebrating and acknowledging Father's Day. As you know, Father's Day doesn't get as much notoriety as Mother's Day, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about what fatherhood is, what it means, and why it's an important job that men take on. Fathers have a huge impact on a child's life, and unfortunately, we hear all too often how fathers are absent emotionally and physically, and we see the impact on the kids and adults if they don't have a relationship with their father. So today we are going to take some time and talk about the importance of fatherhood. That includes the in-house dad, the weekend dad, the stepdad, and even the granddad. And in some cases, stepdad as well. But before we get into that, as always, I want to throw a couple shouts out to a few supporters of Just a Thought. First, I want to shout out to my family and friends over here at Caribbean Life TV and radio. Like I tell you every week, there's a ton of great content coming out of the four walls here, and I encourage all of the people viewing today, the viewing audience, to take in some of the content that is produced around here. So if you're in need of religion, there are a couple shows that will get you right spiritually. If you're struggling in a relationship or you just need some relationship advice, we got you covered over here. And if you are looking for some motivation or straight talk, That's why I'm here, to kind of guide you in that direction. Shout out to all the hosts and all the content creators on this channel, as well as I want to throw a special shout out to DJ Rez, Miss Candy, as well as looks like Mr. Lawrence Prescott is in the house, kind of holding me down this week. Like seeing that man wearing a lot of different hats. So appreciate all the love and support that we get from this community. Tune in. There's a lot of great things going on at Caribbean Life TV and radio. Another shout out I want to throw out this week is out to Miss Shanice and her crew over at Made on Time Cleaning Service. We mentioned them last week, and I'm telling you, if you're looking for a clean home, a clean condo, a clean apartment, they are thorough, they're professional, and they do a fantastic job. If your home is in need of cleaning, give them a try. They are professional, they are on time, and their services are priced competitively. Let them do the mopping and sweeping and the deep cleaning. And you can find them on the web at Made on Time Cleaning LLC. That's Made, M-A-I-D, On Time Cleaning LLC.com. A couple other people that I want to throw some shots out to on this Father's Day weekend. Our friends over at JK Media. These are some new friends that have linked on with Just a Thought. We're going to be telling you a little bit more about them in weeks to come, as well as our friends over at Caribbean Carnival Connect. Another great entity that is starting to show some serious footprints in the Atlanta market, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about them and these two groups in the weeks to come. With this being Father's Day, though, before I really get into the topic and bring in my guests this week, I want to throw a shout out to my sons, to my three J's, Joshua, Justin, and Jonah. I'm a boy dad. These guys have brought so much joy and pride into my life. Just want to acknowledge each one for a second real quick before we get into the topic. To Josh, thank you so much for everything that you brought into my life. When you came into my life, I was learning to be a father. There was a lot of trial and error with you, but your journey has been amazing. You were the littlest kid, and you had this heart of wanting to be great, and I just appreciate the fact of being able to go along in that journey with you. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for the shoes you sent me yesterday. And thank you for keeping me in mind. To my son, Justin. Justin is my son that lives with me. Couldn't be more proud of what he's accomplishing in his life. He's the process child. He kind of watches things happen from start to finish. And, I really, really appreciate the fact that I get to see him every day. He's going to graduate this year with his degree in accounting this winter. And I'm excited to see where his life is going to head moving forward. I'm really thankful for his loyalty as well. Our journey here in Atlanta hasn't always been beds and roses, but he's stuck with me. He's been with me every day, and he knows what I'm talking about when I'm talking about hard times that we went through. Just the fact that he stuck with me as a father, that's a gift that a child gives that he doesn't know how much of an impact that really has. So thank you, my man, for being with me. I'll see you shortly when I get back to the house. And then to my youngest son, Jonah, he's the bruiser. He was always the tough one. I'm so proud of his accomplishments and everything that he's doing. He's my college football player. He's going to graduate with his degree next year. It's just amazing. I remember him as a little reckless kid jumping off of roofs into snowbanks and doing the most. But I'm so proud of him and everything that he has brought into my life, and I'm excited to see where his life is going to go. With that being said, I want to introduce my guest today. You've heard me talk about this guy before. This is Kevin Scott, Web Design. Kevin and I have a history. We actually grew up together back in the streets of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And over the years, I've had the chance to see him in action in fatherhood and even in action as a grandparent and being involved with his granddaughter on a day-to-day basis. But we've also done business. We played sports together. We've had a lot of connections on a lot of different levels. So I felt compelled to bring him in. want to learn and hear about his journey in fatherhood. And I'm sure between the two of us, you're going to hear a lot of similarities. So, Kevin, if you're there, I want to welcome you to the show. Can you hear me?
What's up, Big Space? How you doing, sir?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you being here. Before we get into our conversation, I just want to kind of give a brief description of the role of a father and how important fatherhood is in terms of a child. Fathers obviously are role models. They play a critical role in modeling the appropriate behavior and the values for their children. As a boy dad, boys often look to their fathers examples of what it means to be a man. And if you happen to be a girl dad, many of the girls base their expectations for male partners based on their relationships with their fathers. I know this is kind of a deep subject, but we can talk about, the effects of having a father and not having a father in our lives. And it really affects how we choose our partners later on in adulthood. As far as fathers and sons, fathers teaches their sons how to be men. Fathers should teach their sons how to throw a ball, how to fix things, like fix a car, fix things around the house. Fathers should be teaching their sons how to treat women, or whatever expertise the father has, whether he's a good cook or good with his hands, or like I said, good with fixing things. These are the things that you pass along to your son and even to your daughters. Because of the absence of fathers in the home, though, it becomes even more important that the fathers, when he gets time with his son or his daughter, that he is more intentional in his parenting time with his child. Mothers can't teach the boys to be men. So if you are a father who, is split custody with your son, it's vitally important for you to be in that boy's life because, like I said, mothers don't have the first clue on how to teach men. And in fact, you can see evidence of it sometimes in adult men who kind of adopt some of the motherly feminine traits, and not to slam on anybody, but that's how important a father's love is. And so, Kevin, I want to bring you in here and just kind of have kind of a quick Q&A and back and forth as far as father experiences. Now, I know that in your earlier career, you had done a lot of coaching. In your experience, did you see a lot of fathers involved with their sons, like say on the football teams, and did you see fathers get involved with some of the programs that you were associated with?
So that's a good point, Space, you bring it up here. And as I sit here and think about it, there was a lot of absent fathers. In fact, when me and my cousin Ed Gordon were doing our youth football program, there was a lot of times where me and Ed were their fathers. We spent a lot of time off the field with them as well as on the field. So as I sit here and recall some moments, it is definitely something that was definitely missing in terms of when we were trying to develop those kids.
So how did you, like you said, taking on the role of being a father for, a kid that wasn't necessarily yours, how did you realize that they were looking at you in that role?
Well, so my son, Evan, I'll never forget this. So one thing about my son, Evan, he was always one of those kids that were like paying attention to certain things. Like the kid didn't have something. He would bring this to my attention. So some of those players, there was a couple of times where we took players home. Mm-hmm. And it was my son, Evan, and I definitely want to credit him to this because he opened my eyes to like, well, wait a minute, there's this kid doesn't have any father figure around or his mother might be at work, and he needs these certain things. So a lot of the times it came from my son when it came to noticing these deficiencies.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting that you use your kid or mentioned your son, Evan, as far as bringing the awareness to, them looking at you in a fatherly figure. I, too, was a part of a basketball program for several years and kind of adopted some boys along the way. When you realize they need ride home, the fact that you buy them a burger at McDonald's or something, they really, took delight to that. One situation that comes to mind for me was took a group of kids over to Detroit for a basketball tournament, and this would be during the time of my son Josh's age. We took a team over to I believe it was Southfield, Michigan, and we were playing a team in Detroit. No, it was Ferndale. It was Ferndale where we went. And when we got over there, we were in the car. I had the minivan, had 7 boys in the car with me, and I realized that it was the first time for about half the team to leave town on a road trip with a male. I remember going on, road trips with my grandfather, over the years. But when I realized that these boys had never left the city of Grand Rapids, for that matter, and especially to go play basketball, it was one of those memories that one of the players, Chris Brown, comes to mind. I ran into him about a year ago, and he was like, "You remember, Coach, when we went to Detroit?" And he was telling me the impact of that trip, and he told me that was the first time he had ever left the city limits, and the fact that he was around, men doing that, and going out to eat and staying in the hotel, and that whole experience. Some of those things that some kids take for granted, others never get that opportunity, and really, that really sets the trajectory of what their life ends up being. Kind of moving forward, though, in my own experience, I never had my biological father in my life, but I did have a grandfather who was every bit of a father and a great example for anything that I could ever ask for. He was a country boy. He taught me how to fish. He taught me how to chew tobacco, of all things. He taught me values of going to work every day. He taught me about the values of being loyal. He taught me how to drive and let me drive a car on an abandoned road in my hometown when I was about 10 years old. He told me, don't tell anybody that he allowed me to do it, and I wasn't going to do it because I didn't want him to get in trouble. But what I discovered is when I learned how to drive the car at 10, that skill later came in handy, because at 15 he had a heart attack while we were in the car, and I had to drive him to the hospital. And at that time, I didn't have a license. I wasn't legal, but because he took the time to show me that skill, I was able to get him to the hospital and, get him the medical attention that he was seeking. So I'm thankful for the grandfather slash father that he was in my life. So, Kevin, I know that you are playing the grandfather role, and I'm not quite there yet. I don't know that I'm ready to be in that role quite yet, but what has being a grandfather meant to you so far in your experience with your granddaughter?
Well, I will tell you, Jeff. I always tell people this little story that when X came into the world, I wasn't actually aware she was coming. So the day that I first met her, it was like one of those things just hit me. I to this day I can't even explain what it was, but it was something that hit me. It was like, you know what, you're going to be responsible for her. You're going to be the father figure for her. And from that day forward, it's been nothing but a blessing. She's great. She's awesome. Me and her spent a lot of times together, and it's been nothing but a great experience.
Now, just kind of being a fly on the wall, watching Kevin interact with his granddaughter and knowing the relationship that he had with his sons is kind of cool. And it's kind of motivating from a standpoint. I look at X, and she looks just like her granddad, looks just like her dad, and DNA is a serious thing. So I see the family resemblance. But also I see, the genuine love and affection that they have for each other. And, as a guy, you don't really get into the emotional aspects of what it means to raise a child. But you see it, I guess you see it more in the next generation, and the fact that Kevin, pretty much stops the world for her and stops what he's doing and making sure that he is not only present in her life, but an impactful individual, putting her into sports, putting her into activities, and help setting her up for success. That's something that's very commendable. And if you are a grandfather that is in that role, we got to throw our hats off to you for being that guy and being willing to do that, because it's not easy as you get older, chasing behind the kids, but it also probably adds some youth to it, wouldn't you say, Kevin?
Oh yeah, definitely does that. It's definitely a lot of chasing around.
Right, for sure. So, in fatherhood, whatever role that you play, another thing that comes into play is the emotional well-being. Positive relationships with fathers can contribute to children's emotional well-being and their self-esteem. Fathers can provide support. They provide encouragement. They provide unconditional love that promotes healthy and emotional development. And the biggest thing that we want to do is make our kids as healthy as possible. Another thing that fathers bring to the table, and Kevin, I kind of want to get your take on this aspect of it, is discipline and boundaries. Now, fathers often take on the role of setting boundaries and discipline for their children, teaching them about responsibility, consequences, and respect for authority. It's funny if we look at one sincere situation. If a kid falls off of a bike and the mother comes to the kid's aid or rescue, mom will probably kiss the boo-boo and coddle the child and try to make the child feel better. However, if it's the same scenario with a father, the kid falls off the bike, scrapes his knee, the father most likely will tell him to dust his butt off, get back on the bike, and keep it moving. Would you agree or disagree with that, Kevin?
No, that's totally true. I mean, it's one of those things that, this comes with the part of being a parent. You're going to have the two sides. One side has a little bit more power than the other when it comes to certain things. So, yes, that is definitely true.
Okay, good deal. So, when you look at the discipline piece, that's one thing that I think is really missing with a lot of kids nowadays. And as Kevin and I were talking about earlier, how we were both in a coaching role, a mentorship role, and because of the absence of fathers, certain kids would gravitate towards us and look for that fatherly oomph, whatever that means. They were looking for that fatherly love, that care, that concern. And so a part of that is the discipline. And sometimes it's raising the voice. It's giving that eye. And I don't want to say instilling fear, but there's a level of respect that a father brings to the table that a mother can't necessarily do. So fathers, you two hold power, even though mom may run the show, or she may set the majority of the rules and carry on most of the responsibility in terms of rearing the child. It's very important to understand that fathers, you too have a very strong and important role in terms of the development of the child. Another thing that we look at is the academic success and the roles of a father. Now, I was doing some research this week, and I found that fathers that are involved with their children have a positive impact on a child's academic achievements. Fathers can encourage educational pursuits. They can participate in doing the homework. They can participate in learning activities, going on field trips, being present in the classroom, and demonstrate the value of hard work and perseverance. Now, I know when I was with my ex-wife and we were raising our kids, I know that the majority of the responsibility of the academic piece kind of fell on her. I know that I had a voice in terms of what schools my boys went to or what school districts. And, she kind of fell in line with that thought process and saw the value of the school districts that we chose for our boys. But she was the one that was on the floor doing homeworks and doing projects. And I guess my job at the time was pretty much chastising, why'd you get a C when you got an A? So I know mothers usually take on that responsibility more than the fathers, but dads, our roles are changing. We're ever evolving. I think with my kids being born in the 90s, I think that generation of men were the first to change diapers. I know I changed my fair share of diapers. I made my fair share of bottles. I've been pooped on. I've been peed on. And, as nasty as that sounds, those are kind of the things that, you kind of take with you 20 to 30 years later and really kind of laugh about it right now. Kevin, is there any kind of story that you can remember that maybe not be the most healthiest thing that you experienced in terms of being a father? Have you been pooped and peed on also?
I have. And it's funny, too, because I was just thinking of the time when my son was running through the house doing this thing all over the house trying to catch you. Oh, he was bringing back that picture of, like, I could see him just floating through the house. You know how fast they are when they're that young.
Right. And see, it's easy to chase them when you're in your 20s and 30s, but when you're in your 40s, 50s, and maybe even 60s, chasing them may not be the best look. Not at all. Another impact that fathers have is on the social development piece of a child. Fathers can influence children's social skills and their relationships with their peers. Through play and interactions, fathers can model healthy communication, empathy, and conflict resolution. For me personally, I would like to consider myself a cool dad. My boys might feel a little bit differently, but I always wanted to know my kids' friends. I wanted to know who they were as people. I always tried to open up my home to my kids' friends. I wanted them to have a safe space. They can come over and enjoy a meal. They can play on the toys. They can be at our house. I've always wanted that for my kids and their friends. I wanted to know what kind of families their friends came from, too, because I did not want, their lack of fatherly advice to their friends to be kind of a deficiency for their friends when they came there. So I was showing them the same love when they came over to the house. So if I asked one of the kids to pick up a broom, their friends weren't exempt to help do a chore around the house. And I had one of my kids' friends actually DM me not too long ago, reminding me of the time that I made them shovel snow. I actually forgot about that, but the things that they remember about you is really amazing several years down the road. Kevin, before we get your input on this, we're going to take a couple minutes and pay some bills, and we're going to come back after these messages.
You're looking for a home? You're looking for land? Look no further. Elite Realty Dominica got you covered. Whether it's to buy a home or build a home or just an investment property, contact Nicole London at 888-860-2366. That's 888-860-2366. Or you can log on to DominicaEliteRealty.com for all your inquiries and questions. Elite Realty Dominica, where exquisite living is defined by nature.
That's just how we roll.
Let me tell you who I'm rolling with. I am rolling with the Dot Experiment. I don't know if you ever heard of them before, but the Dot Experiment is here to help you with all your cell phone and computer needs. The Dot Experiment is here for all your tech, all your software problems, whether it's the storage full, your laptop won't boot, or you're just tired of your current setup, or you're just looking for tech support. The Dot Experiment is the only way to go. Call them today, 404-259-1343, or you can email them at support@thedotexperiment.com for a free consultation. Don't waste your money buying tech stuff and tech software that you don't understand and don't know how to use. Contact the Dot Experiment, the professionals in fixing all your stuff, man. So before you buy that cell phone, before you get that computer, contact the Dot Experiment. It's the only way to go. I'm telling you, that's how we rolling over here. It's all about Caribbean International Shipping. That's right. Do you need more information on shipping your items to the U.S. Southeast region or to the Caribbean? Have you ever heard of Caribbean International Shipping? You shop, they pack, and ship. They also offer residential pickup services. Support our business, like, share, and call. For your barrel shippings, let us know. The number to call is 470-718-9675 on WhatsApp or 770-323-1111. Caribbean International Shipping, the only way to send your stuff to the islands. Lawrence Prescott Photography. I'm smiling, I'm laughing because, God, I know what I'm talking about. Lawrence Prescott Photography. That's the only person you need to call when you're ready to take your pictures. You want those pictures to come out right. You want those pictures to last forever. You want your best picture taken? Lawrence Prescott Photography. He does private events, in studio also, and outdoor photography if you need. Photography is what Lawrence Prescott does, and he's really good at it. Trust me. And also, when you want to get that video done, any type of videography production, he got you. He does short films, movies, any type of videos as well. Lawrence Prescott got you at anything that you really need. So make sure you give him a call. His phone number, and I'm going to say it slow for you, it's 404-218-1234. Did you get that? 404-218-1234. Lawrence Prescott Photography. Yo, my brethren, big up.
Give it to me, do it to me, give it to me. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. The way you make me feel.
Do you like music like this? That's right, I'm asking you. Do you like music like this? Then why have you not been to Sophisticated Saturday as yet? That's right, each and every third Saturday of the month, we call it Sophisticated Saturdays. Where we keep it at? Caribbeanlifetv Studios. 6254 Memorial Drive is the only place to be each and every third Saturday of the month. So if you want to celebrate your birthday, if you just want to come hang out and have some fun with grown people having big fun, Sophisticated Saturdays is the only place to be. It's brought to you by yours truly, DJ Reds, and my boy, Mr. B. Sophisticated Saturdays, every third Saturday of the month, 6254 Memorial Drive is where the grown people go and have good, clean fun. Every third Saturday of the month, man. The way you make me feel, I'm just going to have fun. I'll see you there, Sophisticated Saturdays. I got you.
Connected energy can never die. Born in the dark, but I chose to be the light. Look at me funny, I caught out your evil life. Work of advice, bitch, don't kill my vibe. No more depression, please don't kill my pride. Road of redemption, I'm catching them green lights. Spread out my wings, I'm catching them free flights. Free as a bird, out of sight. Singing every little thing gonna be alright, yeah. Hey, ah, hey.
And we are back, spreading good energy here on Father's Day weekend, here live on Caribbean Live TV, radio, and television. We are joined by a special guest, Kevin Scott of Kevin Scott Web Design. As you know, we talk about this guy pretty much weekly. His impact on the digital platforms have touched a lot of businesses, not only in the Atlanta area, but his work is being seen worldwide. So before we get out of here, I'm going to have Kevin talk a little bit about his services before we depart. But as we dive into our subject today, we're talking about Father's Day, the impact of fathers that they have on their children. And this last half hour, we've been talking about the father and son connection, but I want to kind of shift gears and talk about the father and daughter connection. And I really bring Kevin in on this because I know he has two boys like I did, but I get to see one of my friends actually shift into a girl dad role. And so I would like to kind of pick his brain on some of those things that he's experienced in relation to dealing with a young lady versus a young boy. One of the things that we see that's truly important to the development of a young lady is the body image that little girls have. Fathers play a significant role in shaping their daughter's body image and self-esteem. Positive affirmations and healthy interactions can help a girl develop a positive body image and confident in her physical self. Relationship expectations. Daughters often base their expectations for romantic relationships on the relationships with their father. A positive, loving relationship with dad can teach a girl what to expect from future partners, and it also teaches her on how she deserves to be treated. So, Kevin, has your young lady got into boys yet, or is she to that stage? Is she liking boys, and is she there yet?
So far, I believe the door is opening. There's been a couple of situations at some school events I've seen some signs of there may be a male figure coming into the lifestyle.
Okay. And just from a fatherly perspective, how does that make you feel? Do you get extra protective? Do you want to pull out the shotgun? I mean, where does that leave you mentally? Well,
to be quite honest about that, I've had the thing that came to me like, okay, wait a minute, this ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, I had to take a different approach and understand that, hey, she's gonna be a young woman someday, so I just have to just kind of be there for her and just kind of work through the process day by day.
Right, right. No, you know, the interesting thing about watching young women, especially with a father, I got a couple friends who's got girls that went to prom recently, and they were sharing some of the pictures, and these girls were absolutely beautiful. They looked like grown women. And as a father, I don't know that I could actually take the fact that, you know, some little boy is like looking at my little girl in a way that, you know, I'm not necessarily ready for. So I guess God knew what he was doing by giving me boys, because if I had a daughter and I saw some craziness, I'm not sure that that young man would make it out alive. Another thing
Right.
that's important in terms of father-daughter relationships is that emotional well-being. Fathers can contribute to their daughter's emotional well-being by providing support, validation, and unconditional love. This can promote healthy emotional development and resilience. From an emotional standpoint, do you find, Kevin, that you're more affectionate with her? Does she crave that the hugs and the kisses and being close to you, especially as she's getting older? Maybe as a young child, she might, you know, want to be held or be picked up by Pawpaw, but what is the dynamic of the emotional situation now with a preteen?
So with Alexandra, which is my granddaughter, we pretty much have a very affectionate relationship with each other. The hugging, lots of hugs. You know, we let each other know we love each other. That was built from the opposite. That was something I wanted to be a little bit better with. You know, me and my sons, we weren't too much into that those days. We did a lot of hugging and things like that, but you know, the affection thing is a huge thing when you're raising a young person. So I definitely wanted to see that be better with my granddaughter.
And that's exactly right. You know, for me, I wasn't the I love you dad. I'm more of an action based guy. I didn't really receive a lot of I love yous and hugs, you know, growing up in my household. And I know for a fact I wasn't really that way with my boys. The one way that I wanted to show my love was through action, through consistency, and being emotionally and physically available for them. But on the quest of developing a young woman from a father standpoint, another thing that we look at is the academic and career support. Dads can support their daughters academically and on their career pursuits, encouraging them to excel in various domains and break down gender stereotypes. Now, you know, Kevin, have you witnessed any kind of gender issues in terms of maybe some disadvantages that your granddaughter has faced being a woman versus a boy? And what do you teach her in terms of competing with boys and being able to, you know, have a level footing in this world?
Well, as of right now, I haven't really had to deal with any of that yet. But however, she is getting an education in the differences.
Okay.
So we've had several talks about this. You know, when you're dealing with boys, you know, these particular things may happen, and you need to understand to be able to see them.
Correct.
So to date, I mean, we haven't. Otherwise, that's basically in sports at school. She brings that up a lot. That hey, the boys wanted us to play soccer, and I'm like, well, get in there and play. You know.
Right. Don't be afraid to mix it up and get in there. I could see myself
don't be afraid.
If I was a girl dad, I think I would try to create that masculine, aggressive mindset. And let her know that she can compete with anybody, that she's beautiful, that she's loved, that she's supported, and that there's nobody on God's green earth that's any better than her in terms of whatever she's chasing after, whatever dream or goal that she's trying to accomplish. Another thing with fathers and daughters is developing the social skills. Fathers can model healthy social interactions and relationships, teaching daughters about respect, teaching daughters about boundaries, and teaching daughters about communication. this can influence girls' relationships with peers and future partners. Now, I know you haven't quite got to this stage in life yet, but how do you see yourself in the future? Steering your granddaughter into healthy relationships with men down the road.
Yeah, so that, a lot of thought processes going into that. The biggest thing I can do right now is to show her how to be respectful. And I really, these days, I really try to watch the people that are around us, making sure there's healthy situations around us, even though you can't control that.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing you can come away with is you just need to make sure you got a bunch of healthy situations around her so she can understand that's how life really works, with the healthy side.
Correct. And, as a father, whether you're fathering girls or boys, that's kind of a key point that he just brought up. You want to make sure that your child is in as many healthy situations as possible. First, starting in the home. Is there a healthy relationship between mom and dad? If it's not, let's work towards trying to get into that space. Then we're looking at healthy relationships with extended family. Do you have healthy relationships with your cousins, with your aunties, with your uncles? We want to make sure that the kids are in a supportive and warm environment. And then outside the Monday through Friday, especially if they're school age, are they in a healthy academic environment? Are they around kids who are, being raised with similar value systems, with similar beliefs? I think for me as a father, that is one thing that made raising my boys a little easier because we wanted to surround them with like-minded individuals. We wanted them to be around kids that were academically focused, that weren't necessarily looking to break into cars or break the law or do anything silly. Obviously, we know our kids aren't perfect and they try to dabble and do different things from here to there. But for the most part, we want to try to create good humans and surround them with good people. And that includes activities, too. We didn't want to send them to anybody's house. We didn't want them, going to sleepovers at homes that didn't, honor or at least mirror our value system as parents. Another situation that fathers and daughters go through is fathers need to try to create a level of resilience in their daughters. Positive father-daughter relationships can provide girls with a sense of security and stability, promoting resilience in the face of challenges and adversity. Now, earlier I was talking a little bit about, or I gave the example of about falling off a bike. The mother will probably coddle and kiss the boo-boo. The father will probably say, dust your butt off and get back on that bike. I really believe women who have a good relationship with their father end up being, pretty good mates in the long term because they know and they recognize a man's BS. They know how to have, good communications with a man. They are very confident and know how to, really show love to a man. And that's because of having a father. But a father also gives you kind of these warning signs and these little things, these red flags to look out for in different situations. A father's love to the daughter is almost like giving the daughter a cheat sheet on life. If you see a dude acting a certain way, do this. If you see a situation at a party, let's say if you set a cup down, you don't want to never set a cup down because people may put something in your drink. A father would most likely be, schooling his daughter on things like that in terms of keeping her safe when he's not in her presence. The father-daughter relationship is a vital part of a girl's emotional, social, and physiological development. Positive relationships with fathers can shape daughters' body images. In other words, are you fathers telling your little girls that they're beautiful, that they're pretty, and that they matter? Those words coming from you really does a young woman some good, and it really shapes their self-esteem and makes them feel better about themselves. A good positive relationship with a father sets the expectations of what a good relationship looks like, and it also helps her understand what her overall well-being should look like, providing them with the confidence and the resilience to succeed in life. another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is the role of the grandfather. Now, as I mentioned before, my grandfather was my father. He did everything for me. He treated me like his son. I looked at him as a father. As a grandfather, though, family history and heritage really comes into play. Grandfathers can share stories about family history, cultural heritage, personal experiences, providing grandchildren with a sense of roots and identity. Now, Kev, I know that playing the role that you play, do you really get into family history, or do you kind of bring X up to speed in terms of where she came from and who her family is?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, me and her have a lot of conversations about that. Just recently, we were just talking about my great grandmother, who is actually full blown Cherokee Indian. So we had that conversation, and she was very interested in learning more about her. And so, and it's funny you bringing this up, because me and her are actually going to do together one of those DNA kits and look more into our history.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because my brother and I actually did that about 2 years ago. It was kind of a Christmas present to each other. And that DNA uncovered, all of the different lineages that we came from. We discovered that we had people from France, a couple different tribes in Africa, that we had some lineage from St. Kitts and Nevis with some Caribbean background. So, that kind of history is something that I think as a grandfather, I would really try to instill into my grandchildren, giving them this wisdom and knowledge of where they came from. One famous quote I always heard growing up: you never know where you come from until you know where you've been. So really going back into the archives of who we are as people, I think is really important. That life wisdom, with age and experience, grandfathers can offer valuable life lessons. They offer advice and wisdom to their grandchildren, teaching them about important values and how to navigate life's challenges. Grandfathers also provide emotional support and a listening ear. They offer a different perspective and a source of comfort beyond the parents. So, Kev, are you softer on her than you were on your own boys? Do you let her get away with more?
Actually, I do not actually.
Okay.
I don't. I kind of taken some of the mistakes I've made in the past, and I apply them to her, and they're a little bit different. It's a little different. Kind of hard to explain, but it's I'm not that hard on her, but I'm a little bit more tougher on her. You understand?
No, I understand, and I get it. I mean, I kind of have a little bit of insight of why you approach things the way you do. And if you are a grandfather out there that is in a role that's in your grandchild's life, more than on weekends and holidays, and you find yourself being the chauffeur, getting him or her to practice or at the school events, that accountability level, the more you invest, the more you can get into their butts, so to speak. But if you're the grandfather that I see myself being, I see them being able to run all over me, getting pretty much anything that they want from me. And I know there are a lot of grandfathers that, probably follow that model. Another thing that I see grandfathers do is they are role modeling, meaning they serve as a role model, demonstrating how to be a good man, how to be a good partner, and eventually how to be a good father. Now, Kevin, do you ever have questions from your granddaughter asking what her father was like when he was a kid? Does she ever ask you questions about his childhood?
All the time. And I actually use a lot of it in examples with her of directions that we're going to go in that are different.
Right. And does she find humor in those stories, or what do you think she gets out of you telling her about what her dad was like?
Oh, well, it's funny too. So the other day, she was talking to me about cars. And she's like, Grandpa, I want a Tesla. I said, okay, you want a Tesla, huh? And I said, well, how do you think you're going to get that Tesla? And so, I'm like, one of the things you have to do is you have to be getting good grades in school. You have to be staying out of trouble and being respectful to your family and others. that's why I believe you could get that. And she's like, well, what about my dad? I'm like, well, we don't want to bring him up right now.
So Pops had some shortcomings, and he didn't see that foresight that the child has. That's hilarious. So
No.
with the grandfathers, many grandfathers have practical skills and hobbies they can share with their grandchildren, such as, woodworking, maybe mechanics, gardening, cooking, and/or sports. I know that Kevin is an avid golfer, and I've seen some stuff recently on social media where he's got his granddaughter out on the tee swinging a golf club. Did she fall into those activities pretty easy, or did you have to kind of twist her arm?
Well, I actually started her out in golf. She was probably about 4 years old when I actually got her first set of golf clubs. Used to bring her out there. At first, she did not want to play. She just wanted to ride in the cart. She wanted to ride and drive the cart.
Right.
But actually, this year, I'm definitely seeing the development in her growing into it, and she's loving it.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. So I know this topic it has a lot of layers, and I noticed that we're getting close on time, so I'm going to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. We talk about the grandfather's roles in raising the children. It's very important that they're active and that they have that relationship. I remember watching my grandfather interact with my kids, which would have been their great-grandfather. And it's amazing to see how soft and how loving and supporting he was towards my boys. Grandfathers can offer support to their children in parenting roles, showing their own experiences and providing guidance when needed. They can also give parents a break and provide child care, allowing for some much-needed rest and self-care for the parents. Grandfathers play a vital role in their grandchildren's lives, offering a unique blend of wisdom, support, and unconditional love. The grandfather and the grandchild relationship can have a profound impact on a child's emotional, social, and psychological development, providing them with a valuable source of guidance and connection to their heritage. Before we get out of here, too, I want to talk a little bit about the stepfather. The stepfather role is one of those thankless roles, and I really want to give props to men who step in and play the father role to children that biologically aren't theirs. In some cases, being a stepfather is a very thankless job because, the kids will tell the stepfather role, "You're not my father, I don't have to listen to you." I recently saw a very disturbing post on Instagram or Facebook, I can't remember which one, but it was about a guy who who was with a woman who had a daughter, and he was in their lives for about 10 years. He took on the role of the father for this daughter, and she had got to the place of where she was going to get married. Basically, the stepfather took on the role as a father. That means he was going to finance the wedding, that he was going to be that fatherly role for her on what would be the most important day of her life. But what ended up happening was, as the wedding plans were getting made, the stepfather had a couple requests. He wanted to invite, 10 of his coworkers and friends that knew his relationship with this young lady. And he also wanted to, not necessarily walk her down the aisle, but be chosen for, one of the first dances, just as a symbol of the wedding. What ended up happening, and I don't know if you guys saw this, the mother of the bride not only did not include the stepfather in on the invitation to the wedding, they actually asked the father to walk the bride down the aisle. Now, the father had no relationship with the daughter for 10 years, but the daughter put the father in front of the stepfather. And the most sickening point is the stepfather didn't have a role or a voice in terms of putting together that ceremony, but he was paying the bill for everything. So the stepfather wasn't allowed to have guests. He wasn't allowed to walk her down the aisle. He wasn't allowed to have the father-daughter dance at the wedding, but yet he was expected to pay for it. And as heartbreaking as that story was to watch, he decided to pull out and allow the father to step in because it was all about the father. So I say all of this to say is that mothers and ladies, if you are with a man who is stepping in to be that father figure for your child, show them some grace, give them a voice, and really set the boundaries up between, him and the child and teach the child that this man has some good intentions in terms of raising the child and being a positive impact in the child's life. So if you're a stepfather, I appreciate your efforts. I really, honor and admire what you do. I want to leave you with some final thoughts, and then I want to get back to Kevin and give him an opportunity to talk about his business. But this final just a thought, is for the fathers. Today we acknowledge and begin to celebrate Father's Day, a day dedicated to the incredible men in our lives who have embraced the challenging yet profoundly rewarding role of fatherhood. To the biological dad, stepdads, grandfathers, and all the male role models who have stepped up to guide and support the children in their lives, we honor you today. We honor you this weekend. Being a father is more than just a biological fact. It's a commitment, it's a responsibility, and it's a privilege. Fathers, your role is vital. You are the example for your children of what it means to be a good man. Through your actions, you teach them about integrity, respect, hard work, and unconditional love. You show your daughters what they should expect from the men in their lives, and you model for your sons the type of person they should strive to become. Stepfathers and grandfathers, your influence is equally important. You provide additional support, guidance, and love. Your presence helps shape the people your children will become. You offer different perspectives and experiences, enriching their lives in unique ways. Your role is just as valuable, and we acknowledge the positive impact you have on your children's development. But Father's Day is not just about celebration. It's also a call to action. To the men out there who haven't been as involved in their children's lives that they should be, it's never too late. Your child needs you, and there's no substitute for the father's love and guidance. Make the decision today to become the dad you should be. Attend school events. Show interest in your child's life. Offer wisdom and support. It won't be easy, and you may face challenges as you work to rebuild relationships. But the reward of seeing your child thrive with your involvement makes every effort worth it. We must hold men accountable for being active, positive influences in their children's lives. But we also must offer support and encouragement as they work to be better fathers. Raising kids is one of the toughest jobs there is, and fathers need guidance and understanding just as mothers do. Let's celebrate the dads who are getting it right and lift up those who are striving to do better. So to all the fathers here today, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifices you make, for the time you invest in your children, and for being the men they can look up to. Keep being the role models, the teachers, and the source of unconditional love your kids need. And to those who haven't been as involved as they should be, the door is open. Your child wants to be involved with you. Take the steps today to become the father you know you should be. They're waiting for you. Let's raise our children together with both mothers and fathers actively involved in their lives. Our kids are our future, and they deserve the guidance of both genders to become the best versions of themselves. So let's celebrate the fathers we have, support those who are trying to do better, and remind everyone how crucial the role of a dad truly is. Happy Father's Day. Before we get out of here real quick, I want to give Kevin an opportunity to talk a little bit about his business. I know we got about a minute left. Kevin, anything you want to say about Kevin Scott Web Design and how can they reach you?
Just a quick thing, hey, if you're in the market for a website, need some help with brand creation, marketing collateral design, just check me out at Kevin Scott Web Design. That's at kevinscottwebdesign.com, and I can get you guys going in the right direction. Pretty much, an opportunity for someone that needs some help. Awesome.
Well, Kevin, again, I really appreciate you spending some time with me today. I I want to shout out again Lawrence Prescott behind the boards, running around here like a madman with a chicken head cut off, multitasking, wearing a lot of different hats. Thank you so much for helping me out today and putting together this production. Again, you're here at Caribbean Life TV and Radio. This is Just a Thought. I'm your host, Just a Thought Jeff. We're going to have this episode, you can see it on YouTube and I believe on Facebook under Caribbean Life TV and Radio. And I also put this up on my website at www.jeffreyspeaksusa.com. That's Jeffrey, Jeffrey, speaksusa.com. Fathers, I'm proud of you, man. Stay in there, keep involved with your kids. And if you're not doing that, it's not too late. It's time to make better people, and you are important, just as important as anybody, to help create these better people and these better children. I want to leave you today with good energy. That's my jam. We play it every week. Higher frequency. Let's show love to each other. Let's show love to our fathers, and fathers, let's show love to those children that look up to us. Until next Saturday, peace, love, and happiness. We'll catch you next week. Peace.
I got different type of injuries, holistic medicine, different type of remedies. Human, but I'm feeling like a different type of entity. That's around the bonfire like. Looking at the stars, fascinated by the symmetry. Vibing with the tribe, I can feel the synergy. All this shit is real, what you thought it was a mystery. Manifested everything around me, literally. If I want it, then I gotta tell you what I really need. I really need that good energy. I don't need no negativity around me. High frequency. I'm talking higher G-O-D. Yeah. Good energy. I don't need no negativity around me.